Welcome to the Monks Academy, an educational channel where we explore the realm of decentralized finance so you can take charge of your financial future. Welcome, guys, to another Monks Academy episode. As always, I've got fellow Om Monk Stephen with me. On today's session, as you may or may not know, we'll be talking about convexes and understanding a little bit about convexes. It's actually I'm really excited to see how this one goes. It's a pretty advanced DeFi product compared to the rest. And to talk all about that, I'm really happy to have Hyperconnect on the show today. Hi, Hyperconnect.
Hi, Arash.
I understand you've been traveling.
Yeah, I've been traveling around the Benelux area actually. Was in Amsterdam today and drove down to Luxembourg. Yeah, on
Nice.
my sort of unusual.
Enjoying the early summer, is it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I got a few friends living around here, so might as well take most out of the Easter break and go for a little bit of traveling.
Nice. Yeah, we really appreciate sparing some time with us talking about convexes.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
So to start things off, before I actually start the session, just a reminder to the audience today that we'll be giving out some prizes and some coveted NFTs for the most engaging questions and discussions. So raise your hands whenever you guys have a question. I would recommend leaving it towards the end, where we have allocated question and answer time, and then we'll bring you up to have a chat. Or if you're not comfortable talking live, you can always drop in the questions on the general chat or the Monks Academy channel on the Discord. So to start things off, Hyperconnect, for those of the audience and those of you who will be watching the recording, who don't really know about convexes, could you just give a general breakdown? What are the products and what convex is about?
Yeah, absolutely. So, broadly speaking, Convexus is an automated market maker, which essentially facilitates permissionless peer-to-peer market making and swapping of ICX and IRC2 tokens on the Icon blockchain. So that's just a sort of a broad overview of what Convexus is. The main difference that Convexus will bring to the Icon ecosystem is one of deeper, or concentrated liquidity. So the main difference there is compared to, for example, Balanced, which is a automated market maker. Balanced and most AMMs out there have their liquidity distributed evenly along a price curve, which means that your liquidity is reserved for all prices from 0 to infinity. Now, most of the trading happens in sort of tighter ranges, right? So if you look at the price of ICX, for example, you can expect it to fluctuate, 5 to 10% during a given day. But your liquidity is across the whole spectrum of possible prices. So if you're depositing liquidity in a liquidity pool, your liquidity is only being used at a tiny percentage of the time in a very tight trading range. And what Convexus allows a liquidity provider to do is select the trading range they would like to allocate liquidity to, and that means they would capture a much larger chunk of the trading fees. So essentially, Convexus is inspired by Uniswap version 3. And for those who are not familiar, Uniswap is is the largest AMM out there today. And so we thought that Convexus would be a really appropriate way to bolster the AMM scene for the Icon blockchain.
Nice.
How long
Yeah.
has Uniswap version 3 been live already? Do you know that?
Uniswap version 3 has been live for I'd like to say several months now. But yeah, I think probably a few months. Yeah.
Okay. And it was heavily inspired by it. Were there some lessons learned? Have you made any specific changes?
Yeah, so Uniswap have launched quite a few updates to the code and have made significant improvements around some of the smart contracts as well as their user interface. So we've been looking at obviously incorporating all the latest improvements into Convexus using what the lessons learned have been for Uniswap. And then we're also taking a slightly different approach around the tokenomics, etc. So, but essentially, it is a real. It was the basis for Convexus, essentially using concentrated liquidity as a differentiator.
And I think a lot of the audience also and a lot of the community would also kind of want to know. We already have an AMM with which is balanced. Would Convexus be a direct competitor? And by saying that, would liquidity flow from balance to Convexus, or how do you see that go? What are the differences between the two, apart from, I guess, the main thing of concentrated liquidity?
Yeah, no, I think you bring up a good point there around competition within the decentralized app space across Icon. So if you look at Icon compared to let's say Ethereum or other popular blockchains like Avalanche and Terra and others, our app scene is much smaller compared to these other blockchains. And these other blockchains have many different AMMs competing for liquidity, but that doesn't seem to hinder the pool deepness within each of these different AMMs. So if you think, Uniswap, and you have SushiSwap, and you have all sorts of other competing AMMs, some much larger, some much smaller, and you can actually check the ones that are carrying the most total value locked on DeFi Llama. And what we believe is that adding an additional AMM with arbitrage opportunities, for example, so price differences between, let's say, balanced and Convexus, will allow for arbitrage trading, which is something everyone enjoys. There's also the fact that there will be more opportunities now for ICX holders to park their ICX and lock the ICX up into pools, earning an APY on their ICX paired with another IRC2 token. So we feel that the more opportunities we give ICX holders to make use of their ICX, whether it's on Own Finance or Balanced or Optimus, the more applications you can use ICX within the Icon blockchain, the more utility ICX has, and the more people will lock up their ICX to benefit from all this fee accruals. So I think a competition for liquidity maybe, but I think the majority of the ICX out there in circulation is not actually being used in our applications, in our dApps, as much as we think they are. So if you look at the whole circulating supply and the actual percentage of ICX that actually is locked up in OMM and balanced, it's actually not a large amount. So we want to increase that ICX utility, essentially. So that's one difference. I'd say the second difference is we'll be offering native ICX swaps to IRC2 tokens directly without going via staked ICX, which will allow for trading that doesn't have to incur a unstaking period. So all pools in Balanced are SICX based, not ICX based. So what happens when you trade, let's say, an OMM token? If you were to trade OMM directly for ICX, you have to go via staked ICX and then pay a fee to convert SICX to ICX directly without having to wait for the unstaking period. That's because there are no pools paired with ICX. Whereas in Convexus, you will have ICX pools. So that's a difference as well.
Interesting. That's a great point, and I guess in terms of the cost, in terms of fees, I guess there's not an extra step, so it'll be cheaper as well, I guess, potentially.
Yeah, it'll be cheaper, Balance currently have a fee structure of 0.3%, I believe, to convert any IRC2 token to SICX, and then an additional 1% fee to convert from SICX to ICX if you don't want to wait the 7 unstaking days. Convexus will offer 3 different fee tiers. So 0.05% fee for swaps between like-minded assets. So assets that are essentially that don't really have impermanent loss. So you can think of those pools such as BNUSD and IUSDC, or BNUSD and USDS. So these stablecoin pools will have a very low fee. You could also think of ICX and SICX pool as a pool that's not really subject to impermanent loss as well. So that ICX SICX pool could also be using a 0.05% fee. So that's again a big difference. Then for non-correlated assets, so ICX BNUSD, for example, there will be a standard 0.3% fee. And then for very exotic pairs, which are not correlated at all, for example, the GBET token with ICX or another volatile asset, then those trading fees will be up to 1%. And these trading fees will be, especially in the beginning when we launch the protocol, all the fees will be shared out to the liquidity providers. 100% of those fees will be for liquidity providers. So this will actually be quite lucrative to bootstrap liquidity. So we'll be encouraging liquidity providers to be depositing into these pools, since they will be reaping the fees from this.
Interesting. So from what I gather, the immediate advantage of what Convexus brings is a much more efficient use of your capital. So you would need to add less of your capital to earn more internal trading fees as opposed to if you were investing that in on balance. And another advantage, I guess, is the ICX direct swaps that's available. Yeah, are there any other advantages? I mean, and also, I guess another disadvantage where it just came to my mind is what would happen if you're out of range? Because I guess if you're out of range, then you don't enjoy the trading fees. And I guess, are there any advantages or any other disadvantages from using convexes?
Yeah. So a liquidity provider can go onto Convexus and add their liquidity as if it was let's say a classic AMM from 0 to infinity. You can request that. You can say add all my liquidity across the entire possible range.
Okay.
And you can actually do this in Uniswap version 3 as well. If you have a little play around with the UI, you can see that you can do that. And then you see your sort of expected returns from that liquidity. If you then select a much tighter range, your APY will go up. It will go up because the amount of capital being used capturing the trading fees is more concentrated around that mark, and so more of your capital is being used. If you have a very, very tight range, and the price of, let's say, ICX goes out of the range that you have selected, then you will no longer be capturing those trading fees. So it is an active strategy. It's an active liquidity management strategy that you need to employ. So to get the maximum fees, you'll have to have a very, very tight range. And as an active liquidity provider, you will need to be quite aware of the market conditions and constantly moving your range back and forth along where the price is to capture the most fees. And so it will be quite an active strategy to employ, but it will essentially incentivize the liquidity providers to always be in the right range at the right time. And actually, there are some ideas that we have around automating this this liquidity management. So it's something that could be built on top of the Convexus engine. That would be an automated concentrated liquidity bot, for example, that would move your positions, ensuring that you're constantly in that trading range. So there are lots of opportunities there as well for that.
Interesting.
Does the same system apply to the mining of the governance token? Are you also only mining the CXS token when the trading is happening in your range and not when it's outside of your range?
No. Is it? No, it won't. So CXS tokens will be distributed to liquidity providers, but it will be not based on the performance of the liquidity provider, but on the volume they've added. So if you add
to the volume the liquidity you provided.
Yeah, okay. So against liquidity, and then it's up to you to manage that position. If you want to be very active and with a very tight range, your CXS distribution will not be impacted, nor will it be impacted if you just decide to go to the 0 and an infinity range. You will get the same amount of CXS, but your trading fees will vary greatly.
Yeah, I guess right off the bat, like what I get there is convexes, and having used Uniswap version 3, it's not a product that is for the beginner DeFi user, and I guess in Icon the the majority of I guess DeFi users are more early stage DeFi users, if I may say so. So I'm not sure about that, but that's just observation what I gathered. How do you intend to kind of onboard or make it easy for a new user to kind of understand, to take advantage of convexes? Is it where like you mentioned, if it's two stablecoin pools, then I guess uh, there's not much of a range for the prices to go up and down. So I guess is that a reasonable option for new users to get involved with convexes, or what do you recommend?
Yeah, so Convexus will cater to the sort of beginner blockchain user and DApp user, and also cater to the more advanced traders. So if you're someone who's just interested in swapping or buying and selling ICX at a great price with very low fees and low slippage, then you can just use a swap function in Convexus, just like you can on Balance. So you'll be able to use that, and that's just swapping in and out, and that is, let's say, a level 1 trader will be able to use Convexus in that way. A level 2 trader, a more advanced trader, will be someone looking to actively manage their liquidity pool tokens and the trading ranges to accrue trading fees. So yeah, those two types of users can use Convexus in this way. We're also going to be building really clear documentation to accompany the web app, as well as developer documentation as well for those who wish to build on top of the Convexus engine. So there will be a lot of opportunities for beginners and advanced users alike, as well as developers.
I guess a new product that when I was reading your the documentation that's out right now, flash loans was something that struck me. I think that's going to be a new product. It is used by a few dApps on Ethereum like Aave and things like that. It'd be interesting how that product is going to go in terms of flash loans. And uh, can you just explain to the audience and the community about flash loans?
Yeah, so flash loans is an interesting one. So this won't be available to. It will essentially only be available to those who can design and build trading bots,
Okay.
and they'll be able to tap into the Convexus smart contracts. And one of these smart contracts is the flash swap function. And what this will allow any developer or even a dApp that wants to build on top of Convexus to use this engine is essentially to say someone can loan a particular amount of funds from a particular pool, and if they see a big arbitrage opportunity, let's say there's a big price difference between ICX on Balanced and ICX on Convexus, you can use the flash loan function to go and buy the cheaper asset and then pay it back and sell it on the higher priced exchange. And then you send all the borrowed funds back and you keep the difference. And all this happens in one transaction. So it's called an atomic swap. So if you're unable to honor the borrowed funds, the transaction is cancelled. It fails. So it'll only work if you're able to, within that instance, capture the difference in trading fees, in price, arbitrage, and you would collect the remainder from that arbitrage trade.
Pretty interesting. I just when I thought about flash loans and contracts and going through contracts, the immediate thing that struck my mind is Brian is going to have a field day on this.
Yeah, and I think this would be a really interesting contract to be used by developers who may want to build their own arbitrage bots or even an arbitrage dApp where you could put in some funds and that bot will automatically buy and sell a particular token which has an arbitrage opportunity. And there could be an automated arbitrage bot that could run, and that could be a dApp that's created on top of Convexus. So we feel that Convexus will not only be a dApp in itself, but it will allow to build a whole ecosystem of dApps that will use the Convexus engine.
One thing I had to mention is flash loans. I guess especially on Ethereum, flash loans has really opened up an opportunity for exploit. Um, the most recent, I think, couple of days ago, Beanstalk Farm was exploited, where a hacker pretty much went into liquidity pools and took a whole bunch of governance tokens and pretty much took over the voting power and passed proposals to pretty much transfer funds to his account, and obviously he had to wind address it so that he didn't really get caught. But this has happened a few times. What kind of safety measures, or I'm sure you guys go into the code and going through your proper audits and internal audits, and obviously there'll be external audits. How, what kind of assurances do you give the community in terms of, such things not happening?
Yeah, I think well, first of all, there will be internal and external audits on the protocol. So similar to the way Ohm Finance and Balance were audited as well. I think it's also important to discern the particular attacks that have been using flash loans. The ones that, to my knowledge, were the exploit didn't necessarily happen on the flash loan, but it happened because there was a underlying potential arbitrage opportunity. But then when they actually brought and created the governance vote, they wrote something in the code that allowed the person or the wallet that created that vote to then exploit the protocol through the governance vote. But yes, I think in terms of flash loans, there will only really be one other DApp that will be using the flash loan function, which will be Balanced. So Balanced and Convexus being the two only active AMMs on Icon, that will be the sort of the only path you could use it to begin with, and we hope that more and more paths will be opened up as more dApps get created. But yes, if you're thinking about exploits, of course we'll have to evaluate those closely, but there will most likely be it's essentially the same way as same sort of security and structure that Uniswap has implemented. So we're using the best, but to the best of our knowledge, the code that's written for Uniswap is one of the most robust and most audited one. We also will be, as part of the protocol fund, have CXS tokens there to allow for these sorts of black swan events to be potentially reimbursed or compensated for, as well as having active bounties as well for developers to find issues within the code. I think part of the CXS protocol fund will cover some of that as well.
Interesting. I think that covers a lot of the stuff. I guess in any DeFi platform, there is always that inherent, risk of smart contract risk and things of that. So that's reassuring. You mentioned, I guess, the CXS token and the importance of governance and things like that. Can you just explain about a bit about the tokenomics of CXS?
Yeah, so CXS tokenomics are again inspired by Uniswaps. So, but with one key difference. So the first, the CXS token is a governance token above all. So CXS holders will be able to vote and propose, create proposals to determine how the platform evolves. So CXS holders will be able to vote on how the Convexus treasury is used to fund the liquidity pools, how it's used to fund grants, partnerships, bug bounties, things like that, and other sort of growth-driven initiatives. So thinking about the recent application that Balanced funded called Followgator, funded through BALN token, the governance token. Similar things will be done with CXS. And on top of that, once or if a governance vote is passed, which will allow Convexus to the Convexus protocol to actually take a fraction of the swap fees, then CXS will slowly but surely start to capture all the swap fees across all the pools. So when a pool has the protocol fees turned on, CXS holders will earn their share of those protocol fees for that pool. So so that would be quite interesting. Let's say this is all based on volume. So the swap fees, the 0.05%, 0.3%, and 1% across these different pools, the majority will go to the liquidity provider. But if the protocol takes a small fraction of that and distributes it to CXS holders, the CXS token will actually have an APY attached to it based on trading volume. So that's something that Uniswap hasn't activated yet. They have it there, but it hasn't. The vote hasn't passed yet. So activating swap fees for the Uni token is something they just haven't done. But for Uniswap, we would, for Convexus, we would most likely turn that on through a community vote.
Really interesting. Yeah, I think that's something. Yeah, I didn't know that. I guess that would be really, really interesting. In terms of, sharing revenue and things like that. That's something that has been very popular amongst a lot of protocols, and that's incentivized people to hold that governance token that much more. So I think that's going to be a great move. If it's done early. I know a few protocols they do that retroactively. So yeah, I guess by design sometimes they can't really implement that immediately. So that's going to be a fantastic weapon for you guys to, if it does pass by the community vote, it's going to be fantastic. Um, in terms of, in terms of I know Protocol 7, you guys are launching Karma Bond, I guess, before Convexes comes out. I was interested to note that there wasn't really a partnership in terms of protocol on liquidity straight away with Convexes. Is there something that you guys have looked at or are looking at that in the future? Or
Yeah, Convexus well, essentially, the way that we want to design these dApps is for them to be self-governing, right? So, sure, the early contributors could have a strategy there to say, look, it makes a lot of sense for Convexus and the CXS token to have some sort of bond through Karma. But ultimately, it'll be a vote for the governance token holders. So if CXS token holders want to see CXS as a bond option on Karma Bond, that will be something that can go through governance vote. So I think it's important to say that even though we're early contributors, we don't necessarily want to preempt anyone's desires, but we'll be very focused on the community and building that community. So I think to begin with, we'll really focus on Convexus itself and the product and the service that the protocol will provide to ICX holders, which is really the concentrated liquidity, the incentives to provide liquidity through CXS token distribution, and hopefully high transaction volume leading to attractive APYs from earning the trade fees. And then slowly but surely we'll ensure the community has been working and using the protocol over a certain period of time, and then we'll probably start proposing governance proposals. But there will be some sort of forum conversation to begin with, and then we'll activate proposal sharing on chain, and so those would be the sort of the steps we would take. But yes, of course, we have been thinking about bonds for Convexus, but ultimately it will be up to the community to decide.
Yeah, great answer. I think in terms of going where strategy is governed by the community is something that Ethereum and on their decentralized outlook does encourage, and I think it's great to see that dApps on Icon also are thinking the same about being community driven and strategy being driven by the community. I think that's a great answer. Steven, sorry, did you have a question? Sorry.
I was just waiting until you finished. But yeah, I would like to ask a question regarding, you were mentioning an automated bot could be built in the future on Convexes for the less experienced LP providers, so that the range will be determined by the bot. So I assume then this could also be, for example, a valid strategy for an aggregator like Optimus to launch on top of Convexes.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are already quite a few arbitrage protocols that exist across the other blockchains. So I'm thinking of, obviously Ethereum is one of the largest ones, but others also have arbitrage trading bots and protocols that are designed for relatively sort of maybe not inexperienced traders, but people who would just want automation and just have their ICX sitting in some sort of automated arbitrage protocol and see their sort of ICX amount go up over time automatically. And then probably the protocol would take a fee for that service, and then that fee can be distributed to whatever protocol, whatever token that protocol has, for example. So that could be something that is developed by any P-rep actually, or any team, developer team that wishes to build on top of that. So for example, for Uniswap version 3, there are already 3 automated protocols for liquidity provision that automatically adjust your position to be as efficient as possible. And I think these have already attracted quite a large number of users. So, Protocol 7 and probably others will wish to develop similar things on top of Convexus. So yeah, we definitely could see something come through on the CPS to develop and design something like that in the future. But I think to begin with, there'll be several months of letting the protocol run as it should, and see how people use it, and seeing how it performs. And then I think would probably start to think about these automated solutions as well. You could also think of it as not only just arbitrage, but you could have a protocol that's built on top of Convexus that says, hey, I want a balanced portfolio of 50% ICX and 50% balanced USD. And I want you to automate my percentages for me in this percentages. And it would automatically deposit your ICX and BNUSD in pools, and then rebalance constantly the ICX and BNUSD percentages, which essentially means you'd be buying ICX when it goes down and selling ICX when it goes up, for example. And you'd be constantly having that 50-50 portfolio allocation. So you could think also of automated portfolio protocols on top of Convexus, which would be quite exciting as well.
Okay. Are you maybe hinting here that this might be an aggregator protocol that your team might be exploring in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've got a lot on our hands now with Karma Finance and Convexus, but definitely something built on top of these protocols would make a lot of sense.
Okay.
If you're looking at the Icon blockchain, there's so much to be designed and built on top of the blockchain that there are so many opportunities to build an Icon right now. It's a heavily underused chain, and we think that we can boost that usage and improve the amount of transactions on Icon. So looking forward to developing and building more and more applications as we grow.
Good. Nice. Good to hear.
Guys, if there's any questions, feel free to click the raise the hand icon, and I'll get you guys on.
In the
Yeah, I
meantime,
forget.
I'll fire one more if you let me rush,
Yeah, go
unless
for
you
it. Go for
want
it.
to.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
So I was thinking, so Iconation is involved in this project as well, Convexes. They're also involved in equality, which is also a separate protocol for LP pools of stablecoins or similarly priced assets. So it's quite of a niche market. So I was wondering, you will also be offering those the same type of LP pools. Do you know the quality service enough? Maybe you talk with the people from Iconation, how they or you will be different from each other?
Yeah. So in terms of equality, well, we work with Iconation on Convexus at the moment. So and we don't see Convexus or equality being a competition, really. People will generally, and if the market is efficient, people will gravitate towards the best deal that exists. The more deals you create within the ecosystem, the better it is for the end user. So if, for example, there is just a better or deeper liquidity on Convexus compared to equality, then people would do larger stable swaps on Convexus, and vice versa. If equality has deeper liquidity and cheaper fees, then equality will be your go-to place for the stable swaps. But what stable swaps don't do is they don't concentrate the liquidity. So again, as an LP provider, equality and Convexus are very different tools. Equality will again be a bit more like Curve on Curve Finance, and Convexus will be like Uniswap version 3. But that doesn't mean that if you look on the Ethereum blockchain, both of these thrive, and you have stable swap pools in Uniswap version 3 with extremely deep liquidity. Not as deep as Curve, but this is still an interesting offering. And if people want to acquire the most fees possible, they'd probably deposit liquidity using Convexus rather than equality. But it will depend on the tokenomics as well of equality, which I'm not familiar with. So yes, this is all essentially the more use case and utility you create for ICX, the better, in my opinion. And the more applications, the more competition there is, the better arbitrage opportunities there are, and the better it is for the overall ecosystem as a whole.
We have some questions coming in on the Discord.
Saw them.
Mary Jane is asking, is there an estimated date for when Convexus will launch?
So Convexus, we're hoping to launch sometime in May. So we're currently in sort of preparing the testnet at the moment, or we are in testnet mode, but we'll be releasing testnet to the public soon, we hope. And then obviously we'll go through the audit process. So auditing can be of a slightly delayed, but we're working closely with Slow Mist, for example, the same companies that audited OMM and Balanced. and some of these audits can take up to 1 month. So we definitely don't want to release a protocol to Iconists before it's been, properly audited. But that being said, our tests and automated testing has revealed really great results so far. So we're pretty confident in releasing on schedule based off of our CPS proposal. So yes, we're close to the finishing line. And of course, when Convexus launches and is stable and working well, we're definitely going to be looking at the integration with BTP. So that will be the next big development phase for Convexus, as well as Karma Finance. Actually, is to integrate BTP functionality into these protocols, which will be really really exciting. We feel.
Yeah, can't wait for that.
Am I understanding this correct? That Karma Finance, Karma Bond, and Convexus will be launching around the same time?
I think Karma Finance, Karma Bond, the first module in Karma Finance will launch first, most likely, because we're currently undergoing the external audit process.
Yeah.
So whatever issues are picked up by the external audit, we'll have to then obviously fix and then launch. And we're going to be launching Testnet and sharing that with users sooner than Convexus.
Right.
The Convexus development started about a month after Karma.
Nice. Paul Adam has a question. How do the tokenomics compare to Ohm, Balance, and Fin? Just wondering if the team took on board anything from them. They've all had a tough time due to such high inflation. Will there be any plans to reduce inflation with Convexes? It'd be great if something like Karma Bond was launched alongside.
Yeah, absolutely. So the tokenomics of Convexus are actually they have been published on our Medium article, but essentially it will be a very high inflation tokenomics for the first 4 years. So, well, at least year 1 and 2. So in year 1, so in total there'll be 1 billion CXS tokens. So again, similar tokenomics to Uniswap, UNI token. So 1 billion, 50% of those tokens will be reserved for liquidity providers. 30% will be going to the DAO treasury, Convexus treasury, and 20% will go to the early contributors. And those tokens for early contributors will be locked over a 1-year period. But in year 1, CX, so the 1 billion CXS tokens will be minted, and then on a daily basis released to LP providers. And so we'll be releasing 40% in year 1, 30% in year 2, 20% in year 3, and 10% in year 4. And then the inflation rate will be will be fixed. So will be fixed, but it could be changed by a governance vote. So if the community decide that you would like to reduce the inflation, then this can be modified through a governance vote. So the annual inflation will be 20 million CXS, which is a 2% inflation rate. But again, that could be either stopped by voting, it can be increased, decreased, and again, we want to make sure it's completely up to the users and the token holders.
Nice.
For those interested, I have an Excel file that I with the tokenomics of the several projects. I will post it in the chat so you can have an idea. I already mentioned Convexes in there as well.
Yeah,
nice. It's pretty famous, that Excel sheet.
Yeah, so we will have a lot more circulating supply and total supply actually than in terms of tokens, number of tokens. So if you're looking to value CXS, it will probably be, a much cheaper coin, let's say, on exchanges compared to ICX or Fin, for example, which is much more scarce. And so you'd value that token based on its APY. So it will depend. So it may be that if we are extremely successful and there is a huge amount of trading volume on Convexus, which means that CXS holders get a share of those trading fees, and then the trading fees essentially give an APY. If the APY is high, then obviously the price of CXS will fluctuate accordingly. And in an opposite fashion, if there is very low trading volume, which we hope is not the case, but if there is low trading volume, then CXS APY will be relatively low. So it'll be depending on how people value the token, really. But there will be a big amount, essentially, to bootstrap the protocol's liquidity. We want to emit a lot of tokens in the first year, and most of those tokens will go to liquidity providers. So it'll be a very attractive for liquidity providers in the beginning. We want to make sure the community has access to the most tokens, and so the early adopters are the ones that are rewarded the most.
Nice. So the Mark Duffy has a question. Will there be airdrops and airdrips like what was done with the other DeFi protocols?
No, we don't believe airdrops or airdrips are actually good for tokenomics, and actually don't engage users within the protocol. So we will not be offering airdrips or airdrops.
Okay. Paul Adam again has a question on, will Convexes have its own stablecoin like Balanced? Also, what are your thoughts on liquidity moving from Balanced to Convexes? My instinct tells me that a fair bit of liquidity will move over.
Yeah. So first question on the stablecoin. The answer is no. There's no plan as of yet to have a Convexus type stablecoin. And I think we would rather see Balanced USD become the main successful stablecoin for Icon, rather than having too many of them. But it may be that there is a governance vote that creates such a coin. And again, I think the importance is that this protocol is fully decentralized, and we really want the community to be able to, write their own proposals, have discussions on the forum, get buy-in from the community, and then have it at a vote. So I don't know, in the future, maybe, yes, there might be a stablecoin, but that will be 100% from the community, not from the early contributors. And then on your second question around liquidity pool and your instinct around, yes, some liquidity would probably leave Balanced in the beginning. Yes, that's true. However, we would hope that these attractive APYs in the beginning, for example, for Convexus, and the high trading fee share that the LP providers will get, will not only attract a liquidity from Balance, but actually will attract new liquidity. People who hold ICX in centralized exchanges like Binance or Kraken, and then they see that there is actually yield to be farmed elsewhere. That's the real target that's the real community we're targeting. We're targeting centralized exchanges, not Balanced, really. But again, it'll be some sort of game that you would have to play, right? It's because BALN holders will, if a lot of people exit Balance for Convexus, then those who hold Balance tokens will actually get a bigger chunk of the fees, right? So it's kind of a cat and mouse game. But we're really targeting the users, the ICX holders that don't use their ICX in dApps. We want to find a place for that ICX to sit and live, and for these users to farm a highly attractive APY. And I think this will happen organically. I think a really well-designed user interface, good documentation, video communication, tutorials, and a strong community, I think will attract more and more people to Icon in the platform. So yeah, we don't really think that the liquidity leaving balanced will be an issue long term. It may be a slight issue in the beginning. There may be some liquidity that goes over, but yeah, I think it won't be a long term problem.
Cool. Merchant has another question. Is there a testnet for convexes that we can try out before launch?
We will communicate that via our Twitter, but so far, nothing is ready to be tested by Iconist yet. We've got a testnet on, but we're running it privately for now.
Okay.
But yes, there will be one to be tested before launch, and we will probably have a testnet period of about 3 to 4 weeks. So for the community to share any bugs that they find with us.
Cool. Is there any other questions? Anyone wants to come on voice? We always like to hear people's voices. But yeah, hyperconnect. You mentioned about BTP and obviously Iconbridge launching before that. Yeah, it's something that's the community's really been excited about for some time. You also mentioned that you guys will be working on the integration for the BTP protocol. How do you see convexes taking advantage of it of BTP and Iconbridge?
Yeah, I mean, what we obviously want is for a highly efficient and highly liquid AMM to tap into all the other liquidity across blockchains. So we believe that BTP will be a massive game changer for the industry, but not only the industry, but will really benefit dApps on Icon. Because if you believe that trading is cross-chain, and you'd be able to move in and out of different tokens. You could swap Ethereum for ICX or Bitcoin for ICX or Bitcoin for a stablecoin or whatever it is. And you could do that on Convexus with BTP. That would be a game changer for the industry. So currently there are several bridges that exist, and these are all competing with BTP when BTP launches. But we think that because of the trustless design for the BTP, bigger institutional investors and traders will be using a more secure bridge such as Iconbridge with the underlying BTP technology. So we feel that that's a big, basically a massive advantage for Icon dApps to leverage. So if we could leverage it the soonest and the most efficient possible, then I think that will be really successful.
Cool.
So
Yeah,
far,
yeah.
all information that can be found for Convexes is on your Medium and on the CPS proposal. Is website coming anytime soon?
Yeah. So website definitely coming out soon. And we've got a Git book as well that will be released along with it. And then we'll have our Discord channel that will be activated. So the reason we haven't shared too much yet is because there isn't much to show per se, and there's not much that the user can interact with. So rather than launching a server that is sort of kind of quiet, we prefer to have everything sort of ready to be launched and then introduce the community to all of these functionalities.
Cool. I don't want to. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. One more question. Will you be having a Discord server as well? And will it be separate for Convexes and Karma Bond, or will you have one for your for all the projects run by your team?
Yeah, I think we'll start off separate because they're two very different products. There was a conversation about merging the Discord channels together for apps produced by Protocol 7. But I think because there's such different applications and different users will be wanting to use these protocols, I think a separate Discord channel is best. And then we may merge them later on down the line. But yeah, Convexus will have its own Discord channel.
Okay.
Nice. I mean, I don't want to. We don't want to keep you long too long. I mean, you've already allocated, I think, a lot of time from your holidays. So really appreciate your time. If there's no other questions, guys, I think we'll wrap it up here. Stephen, do you have any questions?
Oh, for me, it's fine.
Cool. I mean, thanks a lot for your time, Hyperconnect. Any last final remarks to I guess wrap things up?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'd like to thank you, Arash and Stephen, for the warm welcome as always, and Monks Academy for helping communicate and distribute information of what's going on in the Icon ecosystem. I think that when we do release the website and the testnet, I think you'll see that there's been a lot of thought and process into designing the user interface, making it as user friendly as possible, with really detailed documentation. So I'm hoping the community really enjoys that aspect, and we can't wait really to go live. So I'd say a bit more, a couple of months in total to get everything across the line and into users' hands. So not long to wait now.
Looking forward to it. Good luck with everything, and good luck to the team with two products launching with, I guess, similar timelines. So good luck with everything, and thanks for your time.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Thank you.
Take care.
Take care.